Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Winton Woods Board of Education regular meeting. It is Monday, September 24th, 2018, 6:30 p.m., and we're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. If everyone would please silence your electronic devices so that we have no interruptions throughout the meeting. And please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. Seymour, would you please call our roll?
Mr. Birdie, Dr. Johnson, Mrs. Kuhn,
Present.
Mrs. Ruggless,
Present.
Mrs. Moran.
Present.
I am present.
Mr. Birdie was present, by the way.
Yeah.
I was like, thank you. All right, we're going to begin with the first item on our agenda this evening, which is our district honors, recognitions, gifts, and introductions. Superintendent Smith, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam President and Board, please excuse me. I don't have glasses, so if I call someone's name wrong, just correct me. I'll work on it for the next time. Not unless somebody can let me borrow. No, Jeff, those are too strong. Yeah. Okay. So first presentation is the Great Oaks presentation. Are they here?
Yes.
All right.
He's here instead of Dan Rush.
Dan Rush is not here, but Scarlett Oaks Career Campus Dean of Instruction and Mr. Steve Smith. Is Steve here? Just you?
Just me.
All right, the guys bailed out on us.
I got it.
Do you have enough room?
Usually Smiths don't bail out, but we'll see what happens here.
How can I work? Right, so move this over a little bit? That would be wonderful, thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Nancy Mulvey, and I'm the Director of Student Services with Great Oaks, and we are really excited to be able to share with you some information about Great Oaks and how we partner with our Winton Woods students and school district to provide career training for middle school kids, high school kids, and even adult education. But I'm going to focus in on our high school program today. So Great Oaks serves 36 school districts in the Cincinnati area. I want to say over 40 years ago that there was law passed that every public school had to provide career technical training for their students, and Great Oaks was formed. We have 4 different locations. We have Diamond, Scarlett, Live, and Laurel to serve the different school districts that are a part of Great Oaks. We have 4 campuses, and Scarlett is where the majority of our Winton Woods students go. That is in Sharonville, it's pretty close. We also have Diamond Oaks on the west side of town, Live in Milford, and Laurel up in Wilmington. Each of our campuses serve students who are juniors and seniors in high school when they choose a career path to go into. In addition to that, we serve students at our affiliate schools, and that's where we have our satellite programs. So all in all, we have over 19,000 high school and middle school students and 18,000 adults. I apologize, I brought enough catalogs for the board, but everybody else, you can find out all about our adult education and our high school right on greatoaks.com. So you can see all the different course offerings for our high school students and adults. So when a student chooses to come to a Great Oaks campus, so that's the 4 campuses we talked about, they get to choose 31 different career paths. Since Scarlett is closer to Winton Woods, the majority of kids come to our campus in Sharonville, but sometimes you can go if there's a specific program at the other campuses for those students that would be interested in going to a different place. We currently have 104 Winton Woods students at Great Oaks. 102 of them are on our Scarlett campus, and 2 are over at our Diamond Oaks campus. But also we do satellite programming, and this is exciting because we are able to bring career technical coursework and training to the schools, and we can go all the way down to the middle school level. And right now we have 124 middle school students, and I know the courses. I'm going to read the courses that we're able to offer them. So of our 7th and 8th graders, 124 of them, they're in courses such as automation robotics, design and modeling, and medical detectives. So our middle school kids at Winton Woods can take those courses that we offer through Great Oaks, and it's a partnership between Winton Woods and Great Oaks. For the high school level, there's Project Lead the Way, which are engineering courses that your students are take right here at Winton Woods High School. We partner with employers. We are preparing our students for their careers and college. We have over 1,400 employers. The way it works in career centers is we have to have advisory committees of business and industry to oversee what we're doing in our career programs. If we're not doing what business and industry require, then we need to revamp of what we're looking at and how we're preparing our students for the next step. So our students, which is pretty exciting, is that our goal when they're seniors in high school is get them working in a career or going to college. About 50%, and this includes our satellite kids, are going on to college, but a lot of our kids do go on to work. So 93% overall are doing either college or career after they finish 6 months after Great Oaks. And what's exciting for us is that we work with our employers and we ask them, will you hire our students again? How was your experience with Great Oaks? And 95% would employ our students again. We have a job posting database, and right now we have over 2,500 employers in the Cincinnati area who come to Great Oaks to look for skilled workers and look for our students that have specific skills that they need in the workforce. And our students get to go on to new national skills competitions. We have a lot of award winners tonight, which I'm excited to hear about all your awards. With career technical training, we have different competitions based on specific career programs. So, not only do we offer our affiliate schools opportunities for their students, but the economic impact of our students on the Cincinnati area, and we did through the UC Economics Study, which I know you could go on there and find out all about the study, but when you talk about the skills gap and you talk about the needs of workers, that's where we come in. So a student, and I'll be honest with you, just give you an example. We have students in our diesel mechanics program. There are probably 10 jobs for every one student that we have. For our skilled workers, for our healthcare students that are taking state test nurse aid, they are really in demand. Our students can pick and choose wherever they want to go to work, and many of these employers will help pay for their college. So it's a great opportunity for students to get a head start in a career. So not only do they help themselves, but we're really helping out the Cincinnati area. So this is another reason why we're here tonight, is to talk to you about how we're financed. So we are a part of Winton Woods. Winton Woods is a part of Great Oaks. Together, we need each other to exist. Great Oaks is, just like Winton Woods is financed mostly through local property taxes. And that's where 66% of our funding comes from. So you all are supporting Great Oaks through your property taxes. Thank you very much. 30% comes from the state, and then we get a little bit of money through some federal money, but very, very few. So we really need our communities to help support us. On our adult education, which I spoke about briefly, all the incredible courses we have for adults, they don't come through your tax dollars. So if you're interested in learning a career, you get to utilize the beautiful facilities we have, but you have to pay for your education. That is not your tax dollars paying for that. Because of this funding that we've been able to do, just like I hear you're going to be able to have a beautiful brand new school coming soon, we were able to redo our 2 campuses, and those are the 2 that I've worked at, and they're beautiful now. Like I said, we've been around for over 40 years, so we needed to update our facilities. So this November, Great Oaks is going on the ballot. We're asking you to renew our levy. This will not increase any taxes at all. It is just to continue to support the Career Center and the trainings that we offer. And we hope in the future to be able to revamp our Laurel and our Live Oaks campuses, which really, I know doesn't directly impact the Winton Woods students, but we offer some very unique programs, everything from an equine science program or an aviation mechanics, things like that that are only offered at some of those other facilities. So this is it. Our money's going to expire in 2019. That's the way we operate, is if we don't get support from our communities, then we're not going to be able to be around. So we hope that you'll support us. Then Winton Woods is going to have to figure out how they can provide career technical training, which I think they're hopefully pretty happy with us, that we can continue to provide it for the Winton Woods community. So please help support us. And we have not increased any millage since 1988. We're
Very
able
good.
to continue to operate under the same millage since that time.
We're very, very happy and very, very proud to support the Oaks. I love being the superintendent, but how much does that diesel mechanic job pay? Just kind of interested.
So our starting salary, our kids are making about $14 $15 an hour.
I'm talking about for an adult, but I can get back to you.
And we do it back for adult education.
All right, very good. That's what I want to hear.
Yep.
All right, very good.
So if it gets rough over here, you can always come on over.
It's never rough. Look at these faces. Thank you very, very much.
So this is pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions?
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nancy.
Let's give her a hand. Ready? Okay, our next presentation, our next award, actually, District Honors Recognitions, Gifts, and Intro, the Kiwanis Characters Key Award. Anybody from the Kiwanis group? Come on up, sir. Is Nyla Harper here? Nyla. Wow. Come on. Oh, now that's proud. Very good. Nyla Harper is the perfect example of a responsible student. Responsible behavior is made up of 5 essential elements: honesty, compassion, and respect, fairness, accountability, and courage. Nyla exemplifies all elements. For any task given, she follows through from start to finish. Nyla is good for her word and very dedicated to her work. Nyla pushes herself to the best of her ability to ensure success at all times. Nyla is definitely one that I can always count on. She is responsible in the fact that if I need her assistance with an errand, helping another student in need, or simply being a model citizen, she rises to the challenge. Nyla is a member of the Primary South second grade leadership team. She was nominated by her first grade teacher last year. Nyla is responsible for helping during school-wide events, being an ambassador for younger students, and attending monthly student leadership meetings. The student leadership team is in an elite opportunity that Nyla is the perfect fit for. Nyla sounds like she's about 25 or something. With all these attributes, fantastic. Man, we are so proud of you. I'm honored to have Nyla Harper in my class this year. I cannot wait to watch her grow as a young lady, a learner, and most of all, responsible leader. This is from her teacher, Brooke Starkey. Congratulations. Okay, so he's going to tell you a little something.
I'm really pleased to present you with the Characters Key Award. This is, of course, under the auspices of the Green Hills Forest Park Kiwanis Club. And this only goes part way, I think, to illustrating and demonstrating what a fantastic student you are. I hope that you continue to grow and continue to be a fantastic student. And onward and upward.
Fantastic. Nyla, who did you bring with you tonight? Who did you bring? Okay, Mom, Grandma, and Dad, it's picture time. Seeing that Nyla has all these attributes, she might be able to take the picture and stand up here at the same time. Awesome. She said no.
She said no.
Awesome. Very, very nice.
Mr. Hadley.
She knows there's something on it.
Is Miss Griggs here tonight? Griggs? That's our other recommendation. This one is for Student of the Month, and so we'll hold. She may come in, and if she does, then we'll make sure that we give her all of the accolades that she deserves. All right. The next one is the Winton Woods High School Rachel Hughes. The Board of Education commends this senior student through the volunteering program, contributed over 66 hours of her time this summer at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center. So, is she here?
Rachel?
Rachel?
Yeah.
Come on up, Rachel.
Congratulations, that's for you.
So, Rachel, we have a rule. If you're taller than the podium, you have to say something. So you volunteered 66 hours. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so during this volunteer program, I did a lot of community service, kind of like in the Barrett Center where we helped out some cancer patients, like type quotes or get wheelchairs for people who might need them, or kind of like in the hospital whenever somebody might need somebody to talk to or directions or anything, you can ask one of us.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you very, very much.
Picture.
Hold it. Who did you bring with you tonight? Come on up, Mom. See, we send you a nice letter. I hope you got it. It says, be ready for a photo opportunity. All right. Next recipient goes to it's for the Ohio Art Education Association Emerging Artists Exhibit. Winton Woods High School, Andrea Castro, Alex Slaughter, congratulations to these students. Are they here tonight? I'll just still say a little bit about them. This artwork was accepted in the annual OAEA Emerging Artists Exhibition. Their pieces were out of 153 out of 243 artworks that were submitted in the state of Ohio, and they will be on display at the State Teachers Retirement System building in Columbus on September 10th through October 20th. So if you're up that way, please go in, take a great look, and you'll see some incredible artwork. The next award or recognition is for the Foreign Exchange Student Special Program. Hope I get this right. Osgun? The Board of Education welcomes Osgun, an exchange student from Turkey, and thanks Mr. and Mrs. Paul Denning for opening up their home to host him for the 2018-19 school year. Mr. Denning, you want to say a little bit?
Just how wonderful it is to be working with Winton Woods on this. Osgun is our 14th exchange student and the 6th one that is visually impaired. And, it's a lot of people did a lot of work in the beginning to get visually impaired exchange students into this school, and all 6 of them now are just having a fabulous experience. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, picture. Okay. Picture right in the middle here, Ozzy. No, she isn't.
I'm sure his parents are not here from Turkey, but we love him. Next, how many of you ever had the pleasure of being on the front of a magazine? How many of you have ever been on the back of a magazine? Who raised your hand? Nyla. Oh, yeah, I'm sure, Nyla, you've been on a few. Well, this beats out Essence, Cosmo, Elle, just all of them. And I'd like to introduce Miss Jasmine Horner. Jasmine? The Board of Education congratulates Jasmine who was featured on the cover of the August-September issue of Cincy magazine. This junior student is involved in many extracurricular activities, including student council, varsity ensemble, the a cappella Young Clarity, cheerleading, softball, and volleyball. Whoa, we picked a winner. Thank you, Jasmine. Before you take that photo, what's the rule? You're taller than that podium. Just a little bit.
But you are taller.
You are. All right, so when they told you were going to be on the cover, what did you think?
They never told me I was going to be on the cover. They
They-
told me I was going to be in the magazine. And then someone took a picture and I'm like, ain't this you? And I was like, yeah.
So that's why I walked over and there was a big crowd in the hallway and you were signing autographs. Way to go. Fantastic. All right. This is a photo.
All of you have to come.
All of you.
All of you.
Yes, we have one space.
So, Jasmine, I have a question. Who are your siblings? Where are your siblings?
This one's my sibling.
Okay. The only sibling?
No, I have 3 big sisters, 1 more little sister, and 1 little brother.
All right. Anybody in the audience ever had conflict with siblings? You know, one thing you can say, when you get your picture on the cover of a magazine, you talk to me. But until then, I'm in charge. Way to go. Way to go, Jasmine.
This is about as high up there.
Where's Mom? Is Mom here?
We're grandparents.
Grandparents? When you guys saw her picture, what did you think?
We were very excited,
Excited.
because we didn't know either. So it was a great surprise. And everybody we see, like, oh, she's on the cover.
I think that's an awesome feeling.
Just overwhelming.
So I asked a question, who had been on the cover of a magazine, and I know that my parents were excited when I was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Not true, but sounded pretty good. It would have been true.
Thank you for making Winton Woods very proud.
Absolutely.
The edition is in
we
my
have put
lobby
that
in my
picture,
office, and I'm
and
never
that
going to take it down.
magazine is in everyone's office. We love it. Thank you
Yes.
very, very much. All right. Mr. Smith, Community Spirit Award. Come on up, sir. Mr. Smith is the owner of the Forest Park Allstate Insurance. This award is presented to an organization or individual to recognize their significant contribution to the Winton Woods City School District over a period of many years. How many years have you been involved with us, sir?
Over 20-something.
Over 20. Wow. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything that you do, and we are proud to be part of who you are, and whatever you do, we want to be part of it. You know, Smiths stick together. Did you know that? All right. So, and you are taller than the podium, so you know what to do.
I would just like to say thank you for the award. Appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you bring anybody with you?
Not yet.
You can't see, so she did.
Thank you.
So you know you have incredible students, but it's very difficult to have incredible students without incredible, exciting, exhilarating teachers. So I'd like to call up Ms. Kamara Martin, who was featured in the magazine that Jasmine was on the cover of. All right. So Ms. Martin, tell a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm Kamari Martin. I've been teaching in the district for, this is my 10th year. I started at the high school for 5 years under the illustrious Dr. Holden, who taught me a lot and helped me out a lot in my career as an intervention specialist. And then I decided I wanted to work with students who were younger to maybe have a greater impact, especially in the area of reading. So I decided to move down to the intermediate school.
Bravo.
And I've been there for the last 4 years, and I am loving it, the kids, the staff, so really happy.
Yes. I had the pleasure of being a high school teacher, and then I realized the students were getting taller than me, so I went to the elementary too. So I don't think you had that problem, though. No, not at all. All right, so thank you very much. So what have your family said about you being in the magazine? Anything?
Who, my family?
Yes.
Oh, they were very proud of me. My husband, after I leave here, he's helping with homework and taking kids to golf practice and basketball practice. So we're gonna go out and celebrate. So, yeah.
Way to go. Bravo. Hold it. I need one more picture. I need a picture of Jasmine, you and Jasmine, together.
That's a good idea.
Yes. So the caption, Miss Jackson, that I'd like for you to use for this particular picture is, "We dominated that magazine." Awesome.
All right, congratulations again to our wonderful staff, students, and community. We will take a quick 5-minute recess. We will now resume our meeting, and we're going to go into item number 4, which is our public comments. First one up is Maria Walther Willard.
I'm barely high enough. Good evening.
Good evening.
I've been absent for a little bit, and what brought me here today was the report card. I have great concerns in 3 particular areas, and I would like for you to please come to some kind of consensus that you need to have perhaps a rotating retreat, something that you can continuously meet with between yourselves and the administration to put some remedies in here. This is something that gravely concerns me. The overall district grade of a D is not just a piece of paper to a nameless or faceless district. That D was received not for a piece of paper. That means that you, as the CEOs of this board, received that D, the administration received that D, the superintendent received that D, the children received that D, the parents received that D, and even anybody that was a taxpayer that owns property within the 3 districts received that D. So I think there's a great deal of concern involving that. One of the categories that concerned me was the achievement, the F on the achievement, and specifically indicating a new indicator measures chronic absenteeism. That concerns me a great deal. That is a future mark of a young person being able truly to show up for a job on time. So that is a great concern to me. Then after that, I would have the tremendous concern on the at-risk K3 readers of an F. And if I remember correctly, the last report card, that particular category that involved the K through 3, a 3rd grade reading guarantee, etc., if I remember correctly, was a C. So that means that now receiving an F, it's a cause of great concern. We have to make sure at least that we can read. So at least on our own time, we can remedy whatever we need to pursue as our future. The last category that also concerns me a great deal is prepare for success. That's preparation for a future life of work or whatever you decide to do with your life, an artist, whatever it is. And here it seems like the components looks at how well prepared Ohio's students are for the future. So these are the areas in here in the report card that really concerns me, and vaguely remember some of the last year's report card. I really think that you should think very seriously
You have about
and
10
call all three
seconds left,
communities
Maria.
for help. There are very brilliant people on all three communities that could serve a great deal of, if not necessarily direction, but maybe suggestions. Also, would like to suggest that whenever you do get to meet, perhaps at some point in time, have a summary of that and present it to the different communities. Continue to be concerned in the past with a former board member.
Thank you, Maria. That's your
that said
time.
that she was going to bring the student to the regular school system, never did. And we have a current board member that have students in private school.
Okay,
and
we're
has
now
not
past
been in.
3 minutes.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you.
respect and time.
Thank you. Have a great evening. Okay, next we're going to bring up our OPSI union rep, Shonda Ferguson Gordon, if you'd like to come on up. We're going to have Shonda speak in public comments tonight so that she can go home and get some rest because she's been up since 4 o'clock this morning.
Good evening, everyone. Mr. Smith.
Good evening.
On behalf of OC, Ohio Association for Public School Employees, we would like to present a check to the Committee of Education for Progress in School Issues. I would also like to read the letter that OC had sent to me. Dear Ms. Ferguson Gordon, on behalf of OC, AFSCME, Local 4, please accept this donation in the amount of $300 to assist in the efforts to pass your levy for Winwood City Schools. OC joins the local leadership and other community activists in urging you to vote, not just to vote, but encourage others to do so as well. To build strong Ohio, we must invest in our welfare for our children, our community, and others who serve those who are less fortunate than ourselves. Please be advised, us in your progress, and if we can be in further assistance in solidarity, OC. So we would like to present this check to the Committee for Education, Progress, and School Issues.
Thank you very much.
Are we supposed to take it?
Yeah. You can bring it over to him if you
Oh,
want to.
okay.
Did you have anything else you wanted to share?
I just wanted to say that we are happy that we could, I know the donation is a little late, but I'm just so happy that we could get some money up for our campaign to help.
Thank
Again,
you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Shonda.
All right, board colleagues, we're going to move right into item number 5, which is the approval of minutes as presented.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Let's see here. I forgot my order. Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and we will now move into item number 6. Over to you, Mr. Seymour, for your treasurer's report.
Tonight we have the financials for the month of August, in which there was not too much to report because I just went over the appropriations for you at the last meeting. If you would have any questions on that, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Board colleagues, if we could first get the, actually, we don't need a motion on this one, right, Randy?
Just submit for audit.
All right. So we will go ahead and let the financial statement for the month of August 2018 be submitted to audit. And then, Mr. Seymour, back to you for your recommendations.
The recommendation was for the interest report of $125,913 for the month of August, of which $34,900 was for the general fund, and then $81,016 for the building funds for the month of August.
Madam President, I'll make a motion to approve the investment report as presented.
Second?
It's Been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions for Mr. Seymour? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and Treasurer Seymour, back to you for 7.02.
Approved in your appropriations resolution in August, we did have in there a transfer of funds from the general fund to the athletic fund, approved in the appropriations. And all transfers from one fund to another fund within the district's financial operations must always be approved by the Board of Education. So tonight I'm requesting a transfer from the general fund to the athletic fund in the amount of $20,000, and this is to support our athletic program at the high school facilities.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the transfer of funds in the amount of $20,000 from the General Fund 001-7200-911 to the High School Athletic Fund 300-5100-9850 as requested.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions?
Just a follow-up question, you said it's for the high school primarily?
Yes.
Okay. And it would cover all the sports throughout the year? Or,
Yes, it would help your athletic fund cover anything, all sports for all year. Yes.
Any further questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And Superintendent Smith, we will move to you for 8.01 in your reports of the superintendent.
Yes, Madam President and Board, there are many exciting things happening in the schools. I'd like to highlight a few. On September 28th, the interim report card is distributed, and it's very important that parents understand that that means that there are 10 weeks in a cycle, and kids have 5 weeks that they've already had. If they're doing exceptionally well, we want them to keep up with their great work. If there are any struggles whatsoever, they should contact teachers, work with the counselors, work with anyone that needs to improve, tutors after school, to make sure that in the 10 weeks, your report card is going to be excellent. The other part of that, if you're doing exceptionally well, keep up the great work. So midterm is September 28th. On October 1st, there is a professional day for our adults to make sure they get professional curriculum ideas about how to work with kids in a more courageous manner. And so there's no school for students on October 1st. October 12th is another professional day for our adults. We have to make sure that we stay encouraged about the curriculum and how to work with our kids and make sure that they get a wholesome educational experience. And then October 18th, the second quarter begins. There's also a very important date of October 5th, which there's going to be an exciting homecoming parade that begins right at 5:30, ends right at 6:30, and then the game proceeds right after. And then on October 19th, there is a third annual Warrior Community Tailgate. So these are some of the exciting things that are happening in the district. Mrs. Denny has provided all this information on site, so if you check the website, you will see all the other amenities and all the other things that are happening in the district.
Thank you, Superintendent Smith. We'll move right along to 8.02.
Yes, 8.02 is going to be presented by Mr. Nwanko and Mr. Denny, and this is our GMP, which stands for Guaranteed Maximum Pricing.
Well, thank you, Mr. Smith. Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
These are absolutely exciting times that we find ourselves in our district, in our community, in our schools. Certainly on the academic front, we are trying to reinvent teaching and learning. We're making strides there. And on the facility side, we have an opportunity that really comes around for most of us about once in a lifetime. So I'd like to pause and thank the board for their support, thank the administrative team, and also the great team we have at Skanska, Megan, and SHP for the architect and the construction firm that's working with us. They're a privilege to work with. They're very innovative, and I think they listen. They do a lot right, but then when things aren't exactly where we want them to be, they listen and they work very hard to get it back to where it needs to be. So we're very appreciative. So this evening we have the opportunity to present an update for the board, for the community, on the guaranteed maximum price. This is the first of two large packages that will be presented. The larger one is coming. It's actually for the buildings themselves. This one is the early site work. GMP, guaranteed maximum price, is a result of the construction manager at risk design and building delivery methodology that we've selected as a district. And so our CMR, our construction manager at risk, we have tonight Mr. Evans Nwankwo to join us, and he'll be approaching the podium in just a moment to provide an overview presentation. But this guaranteed maximum price is for the early work. That is the site work, the earth work, the underground utilities, and stormwater management. And it also includes some demolition. So it's demolition of some parking lots and hardscapes to get those out of the way so that the site can be prepped and we can make sure that we get it ready to receive the foundation, which we will hopefully be starting on in January. But the work for the earth movement, the early site, is coming up this month in October. So we're very excited to approach the initiation of the actual work. So without any further ado, Mr. Evans Nwankwo with Megan Construction.
Thank you, Mr. Danny, board, Mr. Smith. My name is Evans Nwankwo. I'm the president of Megan Construction Company. We are located right here in Forest Park, so that's why it's indeed a privilege to have the opportunity to help or get involved with this particular project. And with us is a big company, Skanska. So this is a Skanska Megan team working together to deliver this project for you, for the community, and most importantly, for the students. As Danny mentioned, there are two different types of GMP, guaranteed maximum price. The one that we're talking about today is what we call early site. And then the big one is coming, which is the entire building process. So the early site is really one that includes demolition, because we're going to be doing some demolition. I'm not talking about the demolition of the actual buildings, the existing buildings, but these are demolition that is associated with the work that we're going to do early. So you're going to have earthwork where we're just moving dirt, trying to get everything to appropriate grade before we start building. Then we have site utilities, these are storm, sanitary, and water. So these really constitute the early site package, if you put all those together. Can you advance, please? We think it's important to kind of note the general schedule that we have. So the early site is starting basically now. We actually had scheduled to have some fencing going on today, but Mother Nature kind of interrupted that. So it should be done this week, weather permitting, so we can make sure that the site is secure, so we can do our work with keeping the kids and the public safe. So originally we had planned on doing the early site for the 7/12, and later on we thought, hey, why don't we just combine those two? And they're now running on very concurrent schedule timeline, which to start with the early site right now, like I said, and then structure comes on in January, and that's the actual foundation, and then it goes on up until 2020, and then we're going to have an overlap of the interior finishes. So the idea is to get the project complete by 2021 in the January time frame, giving you a few window of opportunity there for a move-in. So the same schedule is identical with the 7/12 as well as the K through 6. So why are we doing this early? Well, we're doing it to be able to take advantage of the weather, because if you know a thing or two about construction, you don't want to start construction in January, especially when you have a lot of dirt to move because of the weather, the snow, and obviously the temperature. So we're going to do that work starting now to be able to give us a good platform so that come January, we're just dealing with the footings and foundations. For this to happen, we know that we need to get the permit process complete, and we are very close to doing that and hoping that we'll be able to get there by the end of the month. I'd like to point out, though, that once we finish the earthwork, there will be a gap there between starting structure and this early site package. So just some information for the public not to panic, because we're going to get there. This is all part of the plan. I think it's important to look at the project. What you're looking at here is the overall project cost, which is $107 million. That's to the right. Slightly to your left in the blue is the budget, and then the estimate is the one to the right. As you can see, those two are running pretty much neck and neck with just a few dollars in between. Then we have the 712, and that is the one that is $56 million, and then you have K6 at $48 million. Again, put the budget and our current estimate at the DD, which stands for Design Development, is all running pretty good and tight. Go to the next slide, please. So the next slide is the early site, and I like to point out that the type of contract we have is such that demolition is separated from the actual building. So what you're looking at there on the right is the $56 million, which was the previous number that we talked about in the previous slide. That is the overall budget for the 712. Then you have the early site package to the right, which is about $2 million. Again, both the budget and our own GMP estimate is fairly close. The same is the case with K6 at 48. Then you see the 1.6 million, which is the actual early site package as it relates to construction GMP-wise. And again, we are keeping the demolition separate. The tall bar that you see is the overall demolition budget. And of course, that's the buildings that we're talking about earlier. And then to the right, which is the lower bar, is the one that talks about the demolition that is necessary for us to get the early site work going. So again, to the right is 712, and then at the middle is a K6, talking about those demolition that we need to get the early site package complete. All right, so essentially, we're saying that everything looks good budget-wise. We had some challenges, of course, when we are doing the planning process, but that's not unusual in this type of process. We walk through that, and we are ready to get going. Typically, those of us that are in construction, it's hard to have the patience to go through the planning, but we know that the projects that are successful are the ones that we took a lot of time to plan. So we've been working on this for almost a year, or actually better than a year. So you're going to start seeing some action out there shortly. So that's the report, and if you have any questions from the board, Mr. Smith.
Not a question, but Mr. Denny, can you give the board and the audience an overview of when we would have some movement?
Yeah, thank you. The question was, when would we start to see some movement? And you should start to see some pretty heavy equipment, I would say, within a couple weeks. We're hoping to have the permitting done by the end of this month. That is the end of September. And then that will set the stage for the state of Ohio, that's our partner in this venture, and we wouldn't be here without their support, to issue what's called the NTP, or the Notice to Proceed. Once that happens and the Guaranteed Maximum Price Amendment is approved by the state as well, then that's a green light for the deployment of the equipment. So that's why we were hoping to deploy the fencing today, the site safety fencing. But if you look out there, you'll see flags and the fencing's coming. So that'll secure the site, and then we'll begin working on that. I would say hopefully within a couple weeks.
Absolutely, we're planning on starting defensive to that, children.
Yeah, so it could be as early as next week, but I'd say probably within 2 weeks, there'll be equipment
So you said
deployed.
October what?
I'd say by October, maybe 9th or so.
Very good, thank you.
Yes. You're going to hold me to that, aren't you? I hate trying to commit to things I can't control, but we will attempt to influence as much as is possible.
It's on TV, don't worry.
I think we can all
this
gather
thing
that
on?
by your extreme hesitation. It makes sense. All right,
The groundbreaking is?
same day.
Go ahead, groundbreaking, that's
October
17th.
Thank you.
17th.
See, I have my notes in front of me. It's October 17th, and it is at 10 a.m.
10:30 or so?
10 a.m. and 11:30. 10 a.m. for the 712, right out here. And then 90 minutes later, probably 30 to 45-minute
Very good.
presentation. 90 minutes later, we'll be at the K6 site, which is located at the current Green Hills Middle School, or Winton Woods Middle School, or formerly Green Hills High School, where we'll do the groundbreaking for that school as well. So we're excited. It's time to get rolling. So
Yes, sir.
Rain or
Yours-
shine.
Yours truly was giving me something in the back. I don't know if that meant get rid of these two, put them under, but I got it. October 17th.
So the
Thank you,
hook's
Mrs.
coming.
Denny.
yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Very
Denny
good.
and
Thank
Mr.
you.
Nwankwo.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, Superintendent Smith, we'll roll right into 8.03.
Dr. Holden will be presenting the district report card. Keep in mind, at the
Okay.
next SAC Student Achievement Committee meeting, we'll take a deeper dive to go into each school, each category. So tonight, Dr. Holden is going to give an overview and a preliminary of where we are with the report card. And then I think one of the members of the community wanted to know, Doc, can you give some examples of some of the things initiatives that we put out there in order to help us improve in this area of student achievement? Thank you very much.
So if you, give me just a second here to get to the website.
Yes, sir. You need someone to operate it for you?
No, I'm actually going to use the touch screen
Okay.
if this pop-up stops. It'll be much easier, I just need to bring it up here. The problem, our tech director, Ms. Hobbs, is so good at getting us these touch screens that I can't remember if I'm on a touch screen or on a computer.
So blame it on Ms. Hobbs. Way to go. Way to go, Doc. Remember that.
Here we go.
I think she's here to hear it.
Okay, so here we have the
Make it.
the district overview, which is on the Ohio Department of Education website. So I'm just going to go through piece by piece.
Would you mind popping that out and making it bigger? Thank you.
Yeah, there we go. How's that?
Better.
Excellent. So this is really a new interface. So all of the schools look this way as well. So there are 6 components on the report card. They do not all count equally. So you should know that achievement and progress count as 20% and everything else counts as 15% for the district overall grade. So I am just going to start with achievement. And so achievement is made up of 2 components. So there's the performance index and the indicators met. So indicators met is really what is the achievement on the actual test, right? So the threshold is 80%. Ohio considers for every test, students, you are doing an okay job with students if you get 80% or more of your students to proficient. So, this is not rocket science here. You know that the red X means we did not meet that 80% threshold for these tests. So they're tested in English and math at both grades 3 and 4. English, math, and science at grade 5. English and math at 6 and 7. English, math, and science at grade 8. So you see a pattern. And then we have the high school end of course exams. For this portion of the achievement component, there is a new indicator, and that is, actually there are two new indicators. One is the end of course improvement indicator. So that only applies to the high school test. Because as you know, students in high school have to take Algebra 1, Government, History, Biology, English 1, English 2, and Geometry. They need to earn a certain combination of points in addition to earning credits in order to earn a high school diploma. So if a student takes a test, for example, Algebra 1 is given for the first time in the 9th grade. If a student takes a test and scores a 1, they probably need to retake that test. So this indicator is trying to be sensitive to schools and districts where students have taken the test more than once. This is new, I believe, because of some pushback from districts, because
Correct.
we were penalized every time a student retook a test. So this allows us to really encourage students and support students, which is what we would do no matter what this indicator is. But, you know, it allows us not to carry such a penalty. So if you have a score of 25% or higher, you meet this indicator, and we do. The second indicator here in terms of achievement is this chronic absenteeism. So we heard about that in public comments. This is also a new indicator. So the Ohio Department of Education defines chronic absenteeism as any student who has less than a 90% attendance rate, and that includes excused absences, unexcused absences, tardies, it includes everything. If their attendance rate is less than 90%, they are considered chronically absent. So in order to make this indicator, you have to have a percentage of 13.6% or lower, or from one year to the next, if you decrease your percentage by 1.1, you can meet that indicator. This is a concern for a lot of districts that look like us. But to answer your question, Mr. Smith, we do have a plan. So for this, chronic absenteeism, every building has an attendance intervention team. The administration, the attendance clerk, our attendance officers, our truancy officers within the district work as a team to really examine students' attendance, go out and make home visits. We have a lot of compliance pieces to this in terms of tracking within a system. Have we made contact? Who did we contact? How did we contact them? What's our plan for intervention? So this is happening at every building.
So Dr. Holden, can I ask a question on that? So it doesn't seem like they give you any concessions for different circumstances. So with a child that has a chronic illness, let's say she's out due to her illness, and although we have put a lot of things online where they can continue the work and learning can continue to go on, would we be penalized if the child is connected through our online and our technology?
In my reading of the technical documentation for the chronic absenteeism indicator, that answer is yes.
Okay. Good to know.
So I think the other part, Ms. Ruggles, and thank you for the question. Years ago, when students missed school, if there was an excused absence, then that would be acceptable. In this particular situation, it's regardless if the absence is excused or not, there is a penalty.
I'm just thinking, as schools are going to more one-to-one technology and more, you know, even if schools are closed, you know, learning can continue to happen. You can continue to assign homework and things like that, that, you know, maybe eventually they'll give some thought
It
to
seems
that.
to run contrary to the way they're trying to proceed in other areas.
Right. That's my point.
I had one thought too, and I wasn't sure how this was handled. If a student, you think a student's enrolled and they don't show up, but they've actually moved and they acquire absences, are those taken away, or are those forgiven?
No matter what part of the year, if we can, because it's all tracked by a student's identifier, if we have verification of that, all of those are removed.
They remove them? Okay, so it's, okay.
In a not so timely manner, though.
So I want to stick to this part, the indicators met, because what you can do with this interactive site is you can compare how we do to similar districts and to the state. And then you can look at achievement levels by grade. So for every grade, there's a test, and that would be 3 through high school. You can use this drop-down menu to say, okay, this percentage of our students on 3rd grade math is performing at the limited level and basic level. And so here's a good place to see the connection between indicators met and performance index. Because performance index takes the number of students who perhaps have scored in this lowest level and multiplies that by the points that you get for that level. And so that's how you get your performance index score.
Before you go through it, can you give the board and the audience just a quick overview between proficient and promotion?
For 3rd grade.
Yes.
So for 3rd grade reading, the state, what are we in now, maybe our 5th or 6th year of the
3rd grade.
3rd grade reading guarantee. So what that guarantee says is that for students in K3, at the start of each school year, by September 30th, we are required to give students in those grades a reading diagnostic. That diagnostic will determine if they are on track or off track for 2 different things. One is, are they off track or on track for the 3rd grade reading guarantee promotion score?
Right.
Another, we can also use that to determine if they are off track or on track for 3rd grade reading assessment, the ELA assessment, if they're on track to become proficient, to score proficient on that test. So the state says a student has to meet a certain score. So I can tell you, we give the measures of academic progress. So on that, they have to score a 193, or on the state assessment, a 677, to meet the 3rd grade reading guarantee promotion score. That is not proficient. That would put them in this basic level. Proficient is a 700. So maybe a little bit of politics going on here, but it's sometimes hard for parents to understand.
Correct.
And I completely get that. Because what the guarantee says is we will promote you to 4th grade even if you do not have a proficient score on the reading assessment.
Very good. Thank you.
So you can see by, by using this drop-down menu, kind of where our students fall out on each assessment. But I think the real power here, on this side of the achievement component, are these trend lines. Because the trend lines will tell you, it gives you a real good indication of when Ohio changed its assessment system. And within the past 3 years, they've completely changed it. So we have old test, new test, and now you can see we are really kind of getting our legs under us in terms of understanding the new test and meeting the demands of the new test. 4th grade as well, you can clearly see old test, new test, and then For the most part, with the exception of math, we tend to have upward trend lines, and so it's important to keep sight of that. Here is 5th grade, and you see we really grew here in ELA. 6th grade. So this is an area we are well aware of. So I am working with Dr. Ragland and Mr. Day and Mrs. Yule at the intermediate school to really dig into this issue, particularly the math issue at grade 6. 7th grade, you can see there was a drop and now we're starting to really climb, although it's a slow climb. 8th grade, again, kind of the same thing, more flat here from 17 to 18. And then high school. So more tests, so you have more trend lines. But again, you can see that for most of the tests, the trend line is going up. Again, here, how are our students scoring at each level? So just in looking at this, just last week I had a discussion, a half-day meeting with the principals about the fact that we don't have any students scoring at Advanced Plus, and we have some really talented students, so why are our gifted students not scoring at Advanced Plus? So that is on our radar as a goal this year to see how do we support those students in moving up in their achievement on tests. The same with students who score at the limited and basic levels, particularly those at the basic level. You know, how do we work to move those students up a level? These two combined give you your component grade for achievement.
Dr. Holden, I know you didn't say this, but in your last statement, but I want to give you an opportunity to clarify that even those in the middle, our plan is to move every body up, not just the high and the low.
Actually, our plan is, thank you for bringing that to my attention. Our plan absolutely is to move every student up. And it's just, I think what tends to stare you in the face initially is the top and the bottom. But we have a lot of students in the middle. So how do we raise their performance? Because just doing that has a ripple effect on all kinds of other things, particularly all of these components in here. So thank you. Progress. This is growth. So when Mr. Smith talks about achievement versus growth in the state of the schools, this is really what's measured by the progress component on the report card. So this is overall, this is all students, all tests. Gifted, so we had an F overall, gifted a B, F students in the lowest 20%, and then F in students with disabilities. This piece is new, so ODE is trying to give you a visual of, okay, so if you look at the progress, how are students growing in each of these tests at each of these grade levels, you can correlate a color with a growth level. So here we have this darker green, students made more progress than expected and there's significant evidence, all the way down to students made less progress than expected and there's significant evidence. It's important to note that this English Language Arts 2 significant progress is based upon how this cohort of students performed last year in this English Language Arts 1 category. So it's cohort growth. So this 5th grade class here, it's how the 4th grade the year before, the growth from 4th grade to 5th grade. And this is all connected to teacher value added data. Okay, gap closing. So gap closing is based on what the Ohio Department of Education calls our annual measurable objectives. And so that is based on the subgroups, the sub-student groups that you have within your school. So for the most part in the district, we have 9 groups, and that is all students, Black students, multiracial, economically disadvantaged, students with disabilities, Asian or Pacific Islander, Hispanic, white non-Hispanic, and our English learners. So each year, we have a goal for each subgroup, and I want to answer a question from the board about how these goals are established. So these are established in Ohio's approved ESSA plan that the federal government had to approve. So this light blue here is students with disabilities. So you can see this is English language arts, and it's not a specific grade, it's all English language arts test. So on all English language arts tests, our students with disabilities scored at 48.8%. The goal was 57.3. So one way to look at this graph is to see how close we are to the red dot that represents the goal, and if we're beyond it. So you can see with some student groups, our multiracial students, we are close in ELA. Black students, our performance was 65.1, the goal was 63.4. English learners, the goal, our performance was 64.8, and the goal was 64. So this is for English language arts. You can click on the math and see what that looks like. So having just shown the achievement scores in math, this correlates to that. You can see that that right now is at the top of our priority list, and you can see that reflected here. I want to point out this group, however. This is the Asian Pacific Islander group, and if you notice, their goal is 97.8. And I think that is probably based upon that subgroup in the whole state. Our Asian Pacific Islander subgroup looks a little different in that we have a group of students who come from perhaps Nepal in some situations, refugee situations that bring them here, for which we are grateful, and they bring so much to who we are. But they're different from the total goal, because that would be a big gap. You could look and see 97.8% and you're only at 65.1. So that's why that goal looks a little wonky. You can look at graduation rate, and there we're doing, honestly, quite well for subgroups in terms of this measure. And then English learners, again, so the goal is 51 and we are 53.2. So we have progress, which is growth, and we have gap closing, and is how do we close the achievement gap between all subgroups.
So Dr. Holden, how many years have we actually been fully established as a project-based learning institution, all grades, preschool to 12?
2.
2. All right. 2 complete years?
No.
Very good. Yes.
Okay. Graduation rate? So C overall. You really have to pay attention to this one because it's not as it seems on the surface. So you really have to look into the report card guide to see just what it's telling you. So we get a 4-year graduation rate and a 5-year graduation rate. So when students enter high school for the first time in 9th grade, that becomes their initial cohort year. And so based upon their student identifier, they're tracked to see when they actually graduate from high school. So you can see this grade key for 4-year, 93 to 100 is an A, it looks pretty standard. You can see the grade key for 5-year, for which we have a D, 95 to 100 is an A. The problem that I professionally have with this is that schools are penalized for allowing students to complete high school in 5 years when the federal government says that, for example, students with disabilities have a right to an education until their 22nd birthday. With some exceptions, most of this is due to students with disabilities who meet graduation requirements. Let me say that again. They meet graduation requirements, but choose to attend a program perhaps at Scarlet Oaks, as Ms. Mulvey was talking about, because their programs are fantastic. And because of that, we are penalized that they have not graduated in 4 years. So our response is we're going to do the right thing by the student.
Correct.
Because the services they get, should they take their diploma and then say, hey, I'm a student with an IEP, I want to enroll, they have to pay adult tuition.
So we
it's
have a,
unfortunate.
yeah, but we have a new mantra where it's being future ready. And if we know that the students are not ready academically to be on their own, then we have a responsibility. We know the state says you get a rating, but we have a responsibility for the community that if they need additional time, we will give them additional time.
Correct. But if you look at the comparison with the state, quite honestly, for 4-year, we're above the state
And
4-year
somewhere.
graduation percentage. For 5-year, we're a little lower. But again, I think that's because of deliberate decisions that we make
Deliberate
about
decisions.
what's best
Yes,
for
correct.
our children. So then you can see the trend. 4-year, I mean, we're really doing a great job. And then our 5-year is pretty steady because it tends to be a consistent number that go on after meeting requirements.
Do you have a sense of what our grade might be in that area, 4 or 5? If, because you would know the number of students that are factored into the ones who choose to stay a little bit longer.
Well, I think Mr. Denny ran the calculation several years in a row. And from my remembering, it usually came out as a B for the 5-year kid.
Okay.
Because, again, we're going to do what's right. And I think the board is expecting us to do the right thing for families. If the parents are saying, thank you, I know he can get a diploma, but he is not educationally ready because of his disability, then we have a responsibility to make sure that he is ready.
And I think that's important to understand that this is a very intentional decision as it relates to educating our students. While it may not look good on our report card, or we could take the opportunity to do something different, but to make sure that the students are future ready, I applaud that decision.
One other note that the graduation rate component is in arrears. So the 4-year rate is 1 year and the 5-year is 2 years. So it's important to remember that. This will be changing because the state is going to add a new indicator called graduation via the standard route, which, we don't want to get into that, but it's going to be problematic. Not for everybody. So, improving at-risk K-3 readers, the component grade is an F. So basically what's done is they take students, again, we have to give a diagnostic at the beginning of the year. So when they started, if they were on track, how many we moved from on-track to off-track status. And this is a composite. If you remember the initial discussion about the difference between proficient and promotion, this is what this deduction is for. So I can tell you with certainty that plan has already been launched. So this will be a zero next year. It doesn't address I think the confusion about just why we have a different promotion score than proficient score. But we've already addressed that, and the teachers will be creating the RIMPs for all students actually on Monday, on the professional development.
Terminology, RIMPs.
RIMP, Reading Improvement and Monitoring Plan.
Very good, thank you.
So all students are required to be on a RIMP if they are off track at the beginning of the year. All of our third graders will have a RIMP independent of off-track or on-track status because of our Striving Readers Grant. We have a huge focus on literacy, and so this plan will help all students with their literacy skills, not just those who start off track. So the solid readers will be able to grow,
Very good.
and we'll be able to move the off-track students.
What grade bands will the Striving Readers Grant support?
The Striving Readers Grant supports students in grades K through 8.
Very good.
Good. Yeah, that's what I was going to ask that
Yeah.
question too. How far, because you just don't want to start in
I can feel
third
your
grade.
energy, Ms. Coney,
You
so.
did. I was.
You can sense what was coming.
Yes.
No, because it's cumulative, when you lack reading skills, as you get older and you go through the grades, the problem becomes much larger.
Can you speak to how we, as a board, and, you know, anybody that's listening might know about how you might monitor whether or not the RIMPs are putting the students on track, whether or not it's working?
So, one way, actually we have two ways we can do that. So one is one that we've had, so we give students assessments 3 times a year through, it's called the MAP, the Measures of Academic Progress. So we can chart where they start out in reading in the fall, so we've already given that. Our next delivery will be in December, and then again in the spring. So we can say, okay, here's your off-track score on MAP. Here's where you are in the winter. We also have a new assessment called Ames Web Plus, which gives us some progress monitoring that MAP does not. So this is part of our Striving Readers Grant work. So students take that assessment, again, very similar to MAP. If they're off track, then it allows the teachers to progress monitor really about every 2 weeks. So that MAP might go from September to December. Ames Web Plus is going September 5th, September 17th, September 30th, so that we can see.
Okay.
And Ms. Ruggles, what it does is it helps the teacher differentiate the instruction based on where the student is struggling. So every student won't need the same mechanical pieces. Everybody needs the foundation, but where are my deficiencies? So it targets the deficiencies so that you don't keep carrying that same load every year.
And so on the RIMP, there are all of these check boxes that are different interventions that we provide. So it could be something like increase learning time each week. It could be guided reading groups.
Right.
It could be something like, some type of reading extension. So we're required to report them. Not only do they go on the RIMP, we're required to report every reading intervention we do with a student on a RIMP.
Thank you.
And then this piece, you can see that this really illustrates the difference between the promotion score and the proficiency score. We do a good job of having our students meet the promotion score. Only just shy of 40% of our students met the proficient score.
So-
We are not alone in this gap.
Third grade guarantee. Okay.
So
My question was the 94 is third grade guarantee and the 39.3
So all
is
of these students go on to 4th grade, but of all of these students, only roughly 40% of them are reading at what the state calls a proficient level.
Well, that's just
And, the
interesting.
other thing, there are a lot of white papers that talk about this,
Yeah.
overviews. because schools have to put a lot of energy into the third grade. But we want to also make sure that we're putting energy into the fourth grade because, some of these kids barely transitioned and that there are going to be some problems later on. So we have to be very, very intentional. What's the next step? I made it to fourth. Now, how do I maintain where fifth is a solid opportunity for me?
And I know why they chose third grade, because really after this, you're reading to learn, not learning to read.
Right.
I'm just wondering if the state is going to has in those white papers, if the state thought about making those scores maybe
Match a little bit?
match a little bit? I mean, 94.1 says, oh, you can move on, but the proficiency is,
So I'm going to say no,
okay.
because what the state has done, the score to be proficient went up, and the score for promotion went down. Which is a little interesting,
Okay.
if that makes sense. Let that
Marinate a little bit.
That's right. And then this tells you how on track they are by grade level.
But one of the things you'll hear us say often, people will talk about socioeconomic conditions. They'll talk about color. They'll talk about gender. And we're saying those are variables. They exist. And we're going to keep working where our kids will meet the standards regardless of where their backgrounds are. Because the state is not lenient when they talk about socioeconomic issues. It doesn't matter. Kids who have socioeconomic struggles still have to learn at the same rate as other children. So we'll never make excuses about the factors. We'll just keep putting more practices in place until we get our kids all to be successful.
Well, one other thing to note about this component is the grading key. So in A is you can have a 78.3% and have an A. So it indicates how the entire state is doing for this indicator. And then the last one.
I know people are thinking if they had a 73.8, they're like a 4.0 kid, right? Not in reality.
Is prepared for success. This is another one of those components that you can look at on a surface level and say, oh, you're not doing well. You're not preparing students for success. But you really have to look at what it's measuring. So what we have here is, this is a two-part component. So you have to deal with part one first. And what that says is, how many students earned a remediation-free score on all parts of the ACT or all parts of the SAT, or earned an honors diploma, or earned an industry-recognized credential, say from the Oaks. So once you have that number, we had 111. So they get 1 point. So that's our point there, point score there. Then from just this group, how many of these students can earn us an additional 0.3 points for they scored a 3 or higher on an AP test. They scored a 4 or higher on an IB exam, which we do not have an IB program, International Baccalaureate, or earned at least 3 college credits before leaving high school. So we had 45 of the 111 do that. That got us a point value of 0.3, and then that's how this is calculated. The disturbing thing for me is that I could have an entire grade level. I could work with Cincinnati State, for example, and say, our pre-calculus is only going to be offered as a CCP class. So I could have almost 300 students in a CCP course earning 3 credits. Not a single one of those students would count for this indicator unless they also met these requirements up here.
Exactly.
So this is a graph that tells you how many of your students participated, what was their remediation free, what percentage was remediation free, all the way through honors diploma, AP, dual enrollment. This is also in arrears because you know it says class of 2016 and 2017. So now we give the ACT to all of our juniors. So this will go up, it says 51.9% because at this point we weren't. And then college ready. This is another deceiving part of this component. So what percentage, again, of the 2015 graduating class entered college within 2 years? 58.1%. What percentage of the 2011 graduating class graduated from college within 6 years of leaving high school? 18.4%. So you can look at that on the surface and say, you are doing a terrible job getting your children to college. But you have to understand that this is only for the public university system in Ohio. So if we have a student who goes to Xavier, they don't count. If we have a student who goes to Miami, they don't count. If we have a student who goes to Northern Kentucky University, they don't count. Or any of those other universities that are not public and not in Ohio. It's a very deceptive component. So it's one of those, what I would call low-hanging fruit. It's easy for people to read this and say, that's terrible. But that's how this component is calculated.
I don't know why they
That
just
is the report card at a glance.
Thank you, Dr. Holden.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will move into section 9 on our agenda this evening. So Superintendent Smith, back to you for 9.01.
Yes, Madam President and Board, the recommendation is to approve the supplemental salary schedule, Academic Teaching and Learning Department.
Board, a motion would be in order for this item.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the supplemental schedules as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggless?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And Superintendent Smith, back to you for 9.02.
Yes, Madam President and Board, the recommendation is to approve the personnel schedules as presented, Schedule A, Schedule B, Schedule C, Schedule E, Schedule M, and Schedule D.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the personnel schedules as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion or questions?
I have a question on Schedule D. And just a couple things. Were some of these on the schedules that we approved last? Like the athletic director and the JV coach?
Ms. Wilson, can you come up?
And there's also revised numbers too.
Okay, well, I'm sorry, what was the question?
It seems to me, well, one is revised. There's a group called Revised, so those obviously were on last month's
They
schedules.
were on, and.
And then
need
the
to-
athletic, the assistant athletic director, the JV football coach.
They were not on last time.
They were omitted from last.
So they were on the salary, the position itself was approved. So the salary for that position was approved, but we didn't have names for the people at that time.
Okay. And then on the revision?
The revisions, they went on last time, and then we noted that there were errors in their level or group placement. It was inconsistent with what we put on.
What was different?
The level or group. So, for example, now look at your.
Sure. Sure, no, that's okay. Oh, she's got to come.
So, for example, Josh Omsted's was placed on the wrong, Alicia Johnson was placed on the wrong level. We had her at a lower level, and then she called and said, hey, I think
you put me on the wrong level, and when we looked at it, we had. So we corrected that. Same thing with Andre Parker. They were put on the wrong, he was also put on the wrong level, so we had to correct it.
And they were previously level 12? Or what was the level?
Last month, they were approved for a lower level.
I understand it was lower, but was it one lower, two lower, do you recall?
I don't remember, but I can tell you, I can email you or send you a text later if you'd like me to, but I believe it was like maybe 2 levels lower.
And the levels are defined by what category? By years?
Of experience, yes. And so what we did, part of, what we did last month was so massive that we had to take some of the positions and bump them up, others we had to bump down, and for those positions that were getting an increase in the group, we kept their level the same, and I think with those 2 positions, we inadvertently just put the wrong level. So, but I can share with you what it is if you
Sure.
like more detail.
The revisions,
Actually, I've got it.
well, the revisions and the adjustments that were made, did that satisfy the Teachers Association? Were they satisfied with the?
Oh, there's no problem. I mean, it was really a payroll issue. So, and that happens from time to time. So if we have, we may have a typo or an error and we caught it and we corrected it.
But there were no conjectures from the Teachers
Nope.
Association?
It was just a matter of a phone call. Hey, I think I'm on the wrong step. Could you double check? And I double checked with the athletic director, and in fact, we had the wrong number on the spreadsheet.
Did you check all the levels then, or did they have to call
Yes.
to tell you what was
Nope.
wrong?
We checked all the levels.
Okay.
So, and we talked about how to prevent that in the future.
And they have 13 years, is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And if you look at what they were placed on last year, they were level 13s.
So they stayed at level 13?
13 is the highest.
Okay, that, I was wondering.
Yeah, 13 is the highest.
Oh, so you had them they were, last year was on 13, and you put them on at a lower level, and they
This year.
called you and said it should,
I'm really supposed to be a 13. Could you double check? And we
Oh,
double
okay.
checked. And what happens is that we get a spreadsheet with all of them, and we checked, and that's the human error in inputting some of that information. So I apologize. But they haven't been overpaid. They would have been underpaid.
And just one other question, there's 13 years in that same position, correct? Is that how levels work?
In theory, that's how it works, yes. Mhm.
Is that what we applied, the theory, to the, I'm just trying to understand. I just
Yeah,
don't-
we give credit for experience, so, yes, in general, yes.
So somebody could be doing 2 different things and have 2 different levels on those supplementals.
Yeah,
They
so
had 4
someone
years of
could,
experience in one and 10 years of experience in another.
right, or they may have experience elsewhere that they may get credit for.
So if they move from one job to the other, they don't start at one or that level if they start?
Not
with that
always,
position?
it just depends, it's discretionary.
It's discretionary?
Yes.
On what do you base it on, the discretion?
Their experience, and maybe, like, if you're the head, we would never want the head making less than the assistant.
Except that did happen on the one,
Yeah.
because the assistant had more experience than the head on soccer. I think it was girls' soccer last month. I'm just curious about that. And then the other one, I was just wondering, because this also has the music, which was left off for the fine arts.
It wasn't left off, we intentionally left it off so that we
True.
could conduct interviews.
So you can conduct interviews? Okay. And then if they have a question where they think that there's something that needs, they have the right to appeal, you brought up last month, but they can't appeal to this as approved, or, I know you said they were going to give them an option or the letter, or anybody for that matter.
So the contract spells out the appeal process. Everyone has access to the contract. All teachers are covered by the contract. So if a music person disagrees with their supplemental pay, they can appeal to the same committee that just recommended the step in the level.
No, I understand, but
Yeah.
but you said you were going to provide them with documentation or a form on what to do?
There's no form, there's a process. They have to just put it in writing and ask for the committee to review it. And it's all spelled out in the contract. Like, it's not a secret. It's on the wiki. Anyone can do it. And in light of all of the controversy around this, they're very much aware of the process. We've explained it to everyone, especially the people that have complained.
Well, or had questions, whether
Yeah.
they complained or not, that is.
But everyone's
changed.
aware, and I'm happy to show you as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Any further questions?
Since we did open all the fine arts positions up for people to apply to them, and not that you need to answer this question right now, because I wouldn't want you to do it from memory, can you at some point let us know how many changed?
So far, the ones that you're approving tonight, none of them were contested. So you didn't have anyone that you're approving tonight that had anyone else that was interested. The ones that do not appear on there tonight will be on next month's, because we're going to do interviews.
In addition to that, Mr. Birdie, what was interesting, there were people who made reference to, I would like to apply for that particular position for the supplemental. And we heard them loud and clear. They were identified by name and position, and then when it came time to apply, they didn't.
Yeah. And none of them have changed.
I mean, that's what I was
Yes,
really
sir.
asking, is
They-
that, you know,
they
we
did.
went through a process here, and it doesn't look like much of anything changed.
In order
so-
to satisfy where people said, I deserve an opportunity, because I think the public needs to know these supplementals are year to year.
Right.
So they are not like a 5 and 10 year contract. And when we said, okay, we're setting up interviews for people to apply, it was the same people who already had the position.
Well, that made sense, because that was their job, though. Like the high school
No,
choir
it
director.
doesn't make sense. It's not necessarily their job,
Right. Well, the
because
high
they have a
school choir
one-year
director-
contract. It's a one-year deal.
Well, the high school choir director that's their position, so I would.
But the high
No,
school.
his position is to teach choir, but not necessarily the supplemental is not his position.
Right.
There's a
As the
difference.
high school director of choir.
So for example, we have people that are qualified that work at the middle school. So had they applied, they may have gotten it.
But wouldn't that be a conflict of what the thought, the thought is that all this work is done during the classroom, and then to have somebody come in and do it supplementally off at the concerts would be a.
The supplementals are done after school. That's what we're paying them for.
That's what I'm suggesting to you, and the reasoning was that a lot of the work can be done during class time.
No, the reason there was such a disparity, you were upset about, or people were upset about, the music supplementals in particular.
Well, hold it for a
And
minute. Okay, so the question is, the supplemental work is done after hours.
That's what this is
Okay.
for.
Right.
And basically, someone is saying, well, wait a minute, the regular work is done during the instructional day.
That was the argument that was told to me for
Okay.
the rationale.
So
That wasn't my rationale.
if you use the same process for athletics,
There's
all of that work is done after hours.
I know, that was
None of
what
it's
was.
done during the instructional day.
Well, then you're telling me that somebody could be the choir director. So if I was the football coach, you could do all the work and then have somebody come in and be the football coach?
There's no football class.
There's no work during the day for football coach.
But you could be the high school choir teacher, and we could have someone else be the choir director after school. Does that make sense?
There are probably about
They're not the
six
same
There's other
job.
things that can make sense, that doesn't make
But,
sense.
but here's the sense. There are about 6 different people who are certified and qualified to be choir or band. They could do that job, and they're actually not doing it, and some of them are actually in the middle school. They have the certification to do it.
I understand, but you're missing my point, is that the rationale was that this work was done during the classroom, and that the product is presented in the evening after school, and that somehow somebody could just come in and say, well, I would like to be the person that comes in the evening choir director.
Well,
And
that wasn't the
that's-
entire
that's-
rationale.
They could.
But would that really make sense to train the students during the day and then give that opportunity to somebody else to come in and say, oh, I'm going to do the music.
Well, remember, we
the
do have
Christmas or the
supplementals
holiday.
where you have your athletic department again.
Mhm.
Those people don't even work on the campus. and they come and work with the students at the end of the day, or come from whatever job they have, and they are the coach.
I understand that. But my question is, to use the rationale that was explained to me, that this could be done during the classroom, and somehow that's the advantage, that all this work is done during that time frame when they're paid as a teacher, and then when they present it in the evening after as a supplement, that somehow somebody else could apply for that
But
position.
I think, Ms. Kuhn, you make the assumption that everything that is going to be in competition, at the end of the day, you would make the assumption that all of that work is being done during the school day.
That's what was told to me, because they said they didn't work enough. I'm just telling you, that doesn't make sense to me, that particular one.
Okay.
But nonetheless, I'm
But
just,
that's what I heard last time, as we were talking
Yes.
about the group levels and the review of those and how they were working, that group groups were changed, people were, or positions were moved from one group to another because there was assumption that
Yes.
there was a lot of time spent during
They
the day
are
as
working
opposed to in
after
the
school.
evenings.
Yes. So
So I did hear that,
Yeah.
so I
that is
agree,
absolutely
that's
true.
with what Mrs.
So
Kuhn
in
is saying.
theory, you could have a choir a choir teacher at the high school teaching one body of work. And let's say we just decided, for whatever reason, we wanted to use a director after school that's not the choir teacher. They may choose to do something else. But what has been happening is that our current choir director happened to do his teaching during the school day and very little
Like any other contractual
practice
teacher.
after school. Like, he wasn't having everyday practice, he wasn't having after school, but he was using his classroom material to present at competitions. If he didn't have that opportunity, so if someone else was teaching the class, that couldn't occur. Does that make sense? And that's what we were saying.
No,
We weren't
it
saying
doesn't-
that it
that-
had
this-
to be the same
This
person.
particular, the point I'm talking about, the one, does not make sense. That doesn't make sense to me,
Okay.
but.
And I just want to make sure, I don't want to get caught up in the music and the athletic, I don't want to get caught up in that. But, so let's say an art teacher,
Yes.
okay, teaches art in the classroom. And then there's the art show or whatever
Right.
that they might be in charge of. But any art teacher, be it middle school or wherever, could have the opportunity to make it equitable so that everybody can apply for that,
Correct.
correct?
Yes.
Am I hearing that
Yes.
correctly?
Yes.
So the issue is, I'm trying to understand you too, is that you're talking about consistency across across the classroom, and then automatically they become the director?
Ms. Ruglis, I have another example, and
Okay.
maybe this will clarify. All right, we have a person who's over color guard, right? They are an art teacher. But color guard is an after school. It's an after school, which means anybody who had the ability to work with flags and work with the girls, they could apply for that position because there's no color guard prep during the instructional day. It's an after school activity. So if anybody came along and says, hey, I know about flags, I know about marching, I know about some
Yeah.
of the supplementals, I could apply for that position. But anybody here would say that that's not a position that you have during the instructional day. You don't teach color guard during the instructional day. It's after school.
The entire
think that
body of work is
I
after
think
school.
and I might just be missing what your question is, but I like the fact that if there is a position that is available, more than one individual could apply for that, because I think that's sometimes where organizations get in trouble because you don't groom your own organic talents
be.
such that, let's say, if someone gets sick.
Could be.
So, we
Right.
can sidebar on this, because
No,
I'm kind of
I'm just saying, I'm not hypothetically coming up with anything. I'm asked a I don't understand how your high school choir director would have to apply for a supplement when the supplement
their
is
job-
based on product that is done during the classroom as a teacher.
You're not understanding the difference.
I am understanding.
One job is high school teacher.
I understand that.
The other one is high school supplemental, like
Which more
something
together.
only because that's what you're used to. What we're telling you is it doesn't have to be that way. That's just what we've done.
So
And
someone
this
else
is,
could apply for the choir director position?
Yes.
And they would have to have practices at night to do the
Yes, sir.
competition?
Exactly.
thank you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Every night to do the competition?
Yes.
unlike
And then they
what
would want
Mr.
more than
And they would get
$2,100.
There you go.
currently doing.
And,
That
okay,
is the
but
truth.
Yes.
That is exactly.
That's
it would be
exact-
redundant. You would be, okay, that's, to me, seems silly. Now, it's different when you're an art teacher and you're doing color guard, or you're a science teacher and you do soccer. I understand those distinctions, but when you're doing one thing and it lends to itself on the other.
But I think, Ms.
that
Kuhn,
doesn't
you
make any
assume
sense.
that the choir director is working on the same identical pieces for competition. In his classroom, if I was the person, I would be doing that.
Well, they are
But
doing
with the
that.
supplemental, that person would have to take charge and work on the pieces that are right for competition.
And you're saying that they're not.
So it could happen.
Well, when I came in, I heard the choir singing in the choir room tonight before the meeting.
And can you tell me the piece that they were singing? Was it ready for competition? Do you know?
They're practicing,
For something.
yes, but it's not during school.
And they don't
Hours.
practice every day. They might do it before a competition, but I'm telling you, we vetted this, and we asked them.
But you
and
had no music people on,
No,
I'm going
the
to belabor
music
this point, but I
department
do want it to be clear that
provided-
there was no music person that was on the committee.
Hold it.
Fine arts
I'm a music
facilitator.
person.
You were a music teacher that was representing the
But I'm
body
a-
of the
but-
people.
But you can't say no music person.
There was no music teacher that was on that
Ms.
committee.
Coons, we respectfully, we asked everyone to submit hours. And the choir people are not putting in the same amount of hours as the band people, like that marching band. They're just not doing it. And if they were,
I understand what you're,
we'd pay them.
I'm just going by what you told me in the last meeting. So I'm using that as my question. And it's a fair question because if you're saying, because it keeps changing from, it depends on who calls, when they call, who does this.
No, there was an error, and that was just an error.
I'm not saying there could be errors because that's what my point
this
is. That's
is
why
not
I'm
an
asking.
error.
There could
This was
be errors on
deliberate.
some other thoughts about how these others are done.
Yeah.
But I wanted to find out about the appeal process or the ability to review that. Because I do think that's an important piece. It was brought up that was an important piece, so I wanted to
Yes.
clarify that.
Yes, so there's a definite appeal process, and anyone that feels that their supplemental is not appropriate just goes to the contract. There's a provision in there that talks about it. They follow the process, and then a committee, and it's not me. It's not Courtney Wilson saying, nope, yes. It's the treasurer, it's the fine arts facilitator, it's the athletic director, it's
It's an athletic
HR.
director.
yeah, HR, and
And
so
two
what we
athletic
do is
directors.
we sit down by committee and we listen to the rationale and make a decision.
So,
It's a
Ms.
group
Wilson, would
decision.
people would be appealing, are there two different parts of an appeal? Would they be appealing the supplement, or would they be appealing that I didn't get the position?
Just the placement of the supplement, if they want their supplement
amount of the
reviewed.
The rate or where it
Yes,
ranks.
yes.
Got it.
They don't, if they think, and people have done that, this isn't the first year, people have done that in the past. Sometimes it changes, sometimes it doesn't.
So
this
there's
is-
nobody that's ever come back to the appeal and say, to committee, I deserve less?
Nope,
All
never,
right, just checking.
not once.
You don't do that either, do you?
But sometimes sometimes
could.
administration will bring supplements to the committee and say, we think it should be changed. It's happened before.
Well, I appreciate that. No, that's important pieces, so thank you.
Yeah, and reasonable people will disagree. So thank you. Any other questions?
I just want to clarify one final piece. I think the thing that brought this all to term is there were people in the association, the Teachers Association, that says, I just need to let you know that I am putting this time in, and these people are not putting this time in, and we're all supposed to be working for kids. And in some cases, the people actually clarified it for themselves. I'm really not doing as much as I really should be doing, so the supplemental may need to be adjusted. We appreciate them giving a fair account of what they do and what they don't. But I think that one of the things that we want to make sure that we do, anything that we're doing for young people, we want to maximize it. And if young people are being trained with private lessons, if they're being trained to be better musicians, on the field, off the field, whatever the case may be, we want to make sure that they're maximizing it and they're getting that real practice time that they're supposed to have, because the competitions are important.
Right.
All of these things are very important, and everything is based on how are we effectively working with our children? Are we giving them everything that they deserve? Okay?
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and we will now move on to 9.03, Superintendent.
Yes, Madam President. This is an annual trip, and the kids are very, very excited to get a chance to visit Little Rock and Perryville, Arkansas. And I will give you an overview of the educational programming of the district and why we're doing it. Students will learn about the challenges of hunger, poverty, and environmental degradation through an experimental learning camp at Heifer Village. They will also learn about the Little Rock 9 and Central High School and the history of school integration, as well as learn about our government at the Clinton Library. So kids come back and have a great experience. One of the things that we really wanted to do, we wanted to bring back ninth graders and bring them to a board meeting so they can talk about their experience and how they really gained a better insight about, wow, this was something that really happened with a group of people. And how would you have been able to cope with being 9 students that are African American going into a situation that was not really racially balanced? So it's a pretty great experience, and it makes them appreciate where they are and how to balance educational opportunities. So
I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposal for overnight extended student trip, Winton Woods High School Academy of Global Studies, 9th grade, Little Rock in Perryville, Arkansas, November 1st through the 4th, 2018, as presented.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any questions or discussion?
None other than it would be great to have some of the students come back
Yeah.
and share the experience with us for a few minutes. I know.
No, I
think we've
appreciate,
done that before.
yeah, no, I appreciate the longevity.
we've done it,
Yes.
and Mr. Birdie's right. We've done that on older students coming back with an experience. But I think it would be really interesting to see how ninth graders adjusted to the conversation. So this is a challenge, so we'll see how great it turns out.
Yeah. And we've been doing, the district's run this program for a long time. How many years? Since
Since the first year
Yeah.
of NGS.
Yeah.
But Mr. Birdie is right.
Yeah.
The feedback coming back has not been there. So
No, I
we're
think it's a great
stepping it
opportunity.
up.
Love to see it.
Yeah, I'm sure
Any-
those facilitators will be happy to know that they're going to be on.
Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and Superintendent, back to you for 9.04.
Yes, Madam President, have you selected which one of your members would like to read the proclamation?
Did we take off the revised policy, College Credit Plus
I'm
program?
just so eager about that
Yeah.
proclamation. I apologize. College Credit Plus. Dr. Ragland, anything to add about the College Credit Plus opportunities?
I can add. These are required by, these are policies we have to have per ODE on their new CCP policies for underperforming schools.
Very good.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the revised policy, Policy 2271, College Credit Plus program as presented.
Second?
It's been motioned and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And now, Superintendent Smith, I will read
Thank you, Madam
9.05. The proclamation for National School Bus Safety Week, October 22nd through the 26th, 2018. Whereas the Winton Woods City School District Board of Education recognizes the critical and important role that bus drivers are entrusted with on a daily basis, and whereas the Winton Woods City School District Board of Education commends the dedication of these drivers who provide safe transportation for the students and staff members of our district, and whereas bus drivers demonstrate a positive role model to reinforce the importance of education and support for family, schools, and community, and whereas the Winton Woods City School District Board of Education, as a stakeholder in the educational development of these children, expresses its appreciation and support for the drivers and staff of the Winton Woods Transportation Department. Now therefore be it resolved that the Winton Woods City School District Board of Education proclaims the week of October 22nd through 26, 2018, to be a week of sincere appreciation for the important role of the staff of the Transportation Department of our amazing school district.
Absolutely.
Signed and sealed. And Board, a motion would be in order.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution, the National School Bus Safety Week, October 22nd through the 26th, 2018, as read by our president.
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Mr. Birdie? Aye. Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and we will move into item 10 on the agenda, Board of Education reports, starting with the legislative report. What time are we at? We're at 8:37. Okay. So in an effort of time, I was going to go through a couple of these and read them, but I'll try to keep it as short as possible. You all have probably received the OSBA Journal magazine in the mail. If you turn to page 10 and 11, when you get home, I certainly won't read this to you word for word. It has a great edition of all of the bills that were passed before the summer break. Or summer recess, I should say. So, including House Bill 21, which seeks to relieve a school district's burden of verifying the residency of our charter school students by placing the onus on charter schools,
Very good.
which is a great thing you should take a look into. That way they can start doing that work and we don't have to, which is phenomenal. House Bill 87 provides guidance to the Ohio Department of Education on how funds are recovered from charter schools and how they should be distributed. A lot of, by the way, charter school happenings going on at the State House, as you could imagine, with the ECOT scandal and closing down. Senate Bill 216, which has stipulations for educators, assessments, community schools, and miscellaneous. So there's a lot of bullet points there. I will not read them all to you. House Bill 312, which we've talked about before, which requires districts to have board policy on their credit card use. And our wonderful treasurer has taken care of making sure ours is drafted and all of that jazz. Right, Randy?
Yes.
All right, great. House Bill 318, which is to do with the school resource officers, providing additional training for school resource officers, ensuring that districts like ours enter into a memorandum of understanding or an MOU with our law enforcement agencies when we do use school resource officers. And then last but not least, House Bill 438, which allows a local school district to sever its territory from its educational service center and annex to an adjacent educational service center, which is very interesting. I'm going to go home and read a little bit more about this, but definitely take a look at all of those, and I will yield the rest of my time to Mr. Birdie and his Great Oaks report.
Just very quickly, and to mirror what Nancy Mulvey came to tell us about, I've got a list of the 104 students, 2 at Diamond Oaks and the rest at Scarlet Oaks, and kind of the programs that they're in, which I'll distribute to everybody, as well as just some additional information on what Great Oaks has been involved with.
Oh, and one thing I forgot is October is National Bullying Prevention Month. So hopefully if we're still doing some Sandy Hook promise, I see Mrs. Denny left, as she so rightfully should.
She's here.
Oh, is she? Oh, there, you're back there hiding. So we will probably see some things coming that we're doing as far as prevention and working with Sandy Hook promise and all that jazz.
I know Mr. Birdie mentioned that the young people at the Oaks board, it would really be a good thing if, I've been there probably about 15 times.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would just take some time out of your schedule to go and kind of meet the kids and let them know that they're still connected with the school. If that came from a board member, they would be ecstatic.
Yeah.
So think about it.
All right, we do not have anything under item 11, and we do not have an association representative from the Teachers Association, correct? Okay, and Opsy spoke earlier, so we'll just go right into comments from our members of the board. Mrs. Ruggles, we'll start with you.
I don't have much to add, but I'm glad to see that we are continuing to increase our connection with Springfield Township. When Mike Hennenkamp, the previous township administrator, left, we had started meeting, Mr. Smith and I, along with Gwen McFarland and Mike, to talk about how we could increase the commitment and improve the connection between the township. And I'm glad to see now that Chris Gilbert is the new township administrator, that we're continuing on the path of building partnerships with the township. Also, I am working on an initiative with Springfield Township in the district, so I'm just going to say, stay tuned for right now.
Mrs. Kuhn?
I wanted to applaud our guests tonight talking about our building, the process and the progress that we have going on. I think that's important that our community knows where we're at, the diligence that goes into working with our partners in this project, how important it is to deliver a quality product to our community. And we appreciate the investment that our community has made in education. I think that's very important. And regarding also our transparency with report cards and where we want to be, where nobody's content where we're at, we're always striving to be better, and we're prescribing remedies to those solutions. Each district has its own challenges on what they do and don't do for their students and how they deliver. This is our welcome challenge to take that on, to make sure all of our students progress and do well. And I think some of our goals are to pull our ACT scores up to the remedial level of 22. And we are also looking to increase our number of honor... Remediation-free, sorry. Thank you for correcting me. You can always helps to walk behind me and pick up what I said. The remediation-free, so I use the right terminology, but we want to be at that level. We want to make sure our students are successful, no matter where they go on to. And then to piggyback with that, I know many community members want National Merit Honor students, which is great, and that's what we want too. But also, I think equally important is to have our students graduate with honors diplomas. The more students we can move into that category, the more successful we're going to cover a broad range of children and students able to do whatever they do in life and give them that foundation. I think those are some of our goals, short and long term, and then we'll keep pushing forward. But I want our community to know that we're never content, we're never going to rest until we reach some greater, higher excellence level. So that was very important to me to get out to our community.
Thank you, Mrs. Kuhn. Mr. Birdie?
First, I'd like to thank Nancy Mulvey for coming here from Great Oaks and doing the presentation on Great Oaks. We appreciate that. I was able to attend the National Honor Society induction ceremony last week. That was fun to watch, and good work done by all that were involved in that. And Mr. Bird's keynote speaker address was very well done. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to him. Some of the highlights on dates coming up. I think we've said October 5th homecoming, October 17th groundbreaking. That'll help give the community comfort that we are moving. It's just taken a while, as Mr. Blanco said. Planning is important. And I'd like to thank Dr. Holden for going through the state report card for us. I think she touched on some of the issues that Maria Walter Willard hit on when she was here, and concerns of about what's going on in the scorecard, in the report card, I mean. And just, the community should know that the staff in here is working towards making those improvements that need to be done. And there are conversations going on constantly, I'm sure. We have them in work group sessions, and I know that they're happening at the administrative level. So thank you for what you all are doing, as well as thank you to the teachers and the staff and everybody involved in those. I had the pleasure of attending my 40th class reunion a little while ago from Forest Park, and got to see some people I hadn't seen in over 30-something years. So it was a pleasure to do that. And there was Mr. Duncan, who was a choir, I think, teacher back when I was in high school. I did not realize, but he is also a deacon at the church that I attend. And we both figured that out that night. Not the deacon part, I knew that, but the part that he was a choir teacher and he was giving me a hard time because I didn't sing. So, but that was my gift to everybody around
Not
me.
even in the church?
And with that, I'm done.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Birdie. You took virtually everything I was going to say.
I do.
Yeah, here, I'll do
Yeah,
this.
that would be good. That
All
would be
right,
good.
important dates.
All right.
Homecoming, October 5th. Please join us and come out and support our football players and every other group that supports our football efforts, marching band, color guard, cheerleaders, etc. And groundbreaking, October 17th. Please join us. 10 a.m. at this site, 11:30 a.m. at the Green Hills Middle School. And then also something we're very proud to share is the initiation or start of our Family Warrior University. So kudos to the communications team for coming up with this. I'm very happy to see this. This is going to be on October 2nd, so coming up very soon. 6 to 8 p.m. right here at Winton Woods High School. And I'll just read this little blurb because I think it's very important. So Winton Woods City Schools Family University is proud to offer a mini conference for parents, relatives, guardians, community members, and others who play a role in the lives of our youth. This 2-hour event is designed to provide our warrior families with a variety of training and resources through informational sessions on subjects such as reading, problem and project-based learning, college financial aid, and much, much more. So kudos to the team for putting this together. I'm excited to see this, and hopefully 6 to 8 p.m. If you want to pass that back down.
Correct.
Yes, here at the high school. And then I just wanted to echo Mrs. Kuhn's comments on, never satisfied with the current report card scores, obviously. I mean, we can say that until we're blue in the face, but we are being very, very proactive with our solutions, with our remedies, with getting together and putting the minds at work and figuring out where we go from here and how we fix things, and then how we maneuver around things that maybe aren't in our control. So kudos to the team for doing that. I thank you for all of your work. And I guess that could be argued as to why we even chose to go down this very innovative route with project and problem-based learning in the New Tech Network. So we can make this a destination district and rise above any obstacles. So thank you all for being here tonight. We do have a need for an executive session, but we will not have a need to vote after said executive session. So our wonderful partner at Waycross, you may go home for the evening. Thank you for being here. All right, so we'll entertain that motion now.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to discuss the contract for the employment of the superintendent.
Second?
It's been motioned and seconded. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, Mr. Seymour, would you please call that vote?
Sure. Mr. Birdie?
Aye.
Mrs. Kuhn?
Aye.
Mrs. Ruggles?
Aye.
Mrs. Miranda?
Aye, motion passes unanimously. We will now move into our executive session. Have a great evening, everyone.